ShopDog's taking care of his obligatory pretzel. We're in here to work on the Courier a little. It's kind of chilly in here. I don't know why I'm in shirt sleeves. Hopefully I'll warm up shortly. But we're back on the 78 Courier. I did a short yesterday about the belt, and I'm real happy with how that routing is going to go. Not even close. You know, look at that. Get my whole hand in there. So feel pretty comfortable about that. The next thing I really need to do is go through the wiring harness. So luckily Harlan had a few books, including an original shop manual. So I'm going to go through those, take a look at how the charging system is set up and how I want to defeat it. Obviously I know I want to add more power back over to the battery, and I'll get some more of the same ones I always use. You know, they may look silly, but they work great. So I'll get another set for these, and then this is going to be the source of power for the electric fan, for the electric water pump, you know, and obviously a big power feed from the alternator, and everything else that was fed from the alternator will continue to be fed from that point. I think I got to look at how the wiring is. So you can see, and I'm assuming that that is a factory fusible link, so that's interesting to note. Gonna have to deal with that as well. So, you know, a few things to think of, but I'm gonna spend a little time, go through, see if I can mock out and figure this out. Well, you know you're on the right track when you find somebody's already annotated some stuff in a book. So that's interesting to note. Just removed the relay here, you know, for used to bounce and set the voltage on the old alternator, and it has the weirdest extra wire. So you can see here's the little connector coming off the voltage regulator, and it's basically a big relay, and on the white and red it has an extra wire, and I think that when you look here is a bypass, just because, well, they probably were melting these pins and they're like, well, okay, we'll just throw another connector on there. And that's literally what it looks like. ShopDog's excited about something. He's been fussing up a storm here, so let's go see what he's excited about. Is neighbor Jeff coming, or did he just hear something outside? Huh. No, just melting snow. Look at that. Shop's got its own decoration. As I'm pulling things apart, I just found this junction here. Oh, you guys can't see that. Which you can see is the white and red, the heavy, you know, heavy gauge, you know, for a 40 amp alternator. That is actually right here in here. So I'm kind of going through that. So this is obviously the feed to the car. I bet that goes in a fuse box. That's why I've got it pulled that far. It also went to the back of the alternator. This was that other weird little plug that went around here. So you've got one white and red on this pin. And then obviously these pins couldn't handle the current, so they had added that second one. And then one goes to the battery. So I may actually just replace all of that. Wasn't really the plan, but it may be easier for me to run a new wire from that box over here for the cab, a new wire from, well, we were running one anyway, from the alternator here, you know, to charge the battery. And there was another wire that went into the body harness, which I can either move into that or back over here. So I'm kind of going through it, and then I'm finding things like this. I didn't know what it was at first, but that's the power for that 6AL, or well, 6 Plus or whatever it is. Anyway, the ignition box. So we'll get there. We're just sorting things out, getting it all sorted out. What I didn't want was a mass of wires near this fan, but also probably needed to go through some of this anyway. We're adding so much more current with this 100 amp alternator. We do not want to risk burning anything up. You know, he's had this car for too long. He's put too much time and money and love and sweat into this for me to just burn it down. Peeling this onion back a little more and a little more. Okay, so I went ahead, and this is all the distribution from, that's where it goes to the alternator. Everything from the alternator goes to this little solder blob right here. Well, this one I think is a factory one. That I think somebody added. Somebody added this black and white wire. That shouldn't be there. That is coming around, and you can see it up in this nightmare mess up here. All of this is getting ready to go away. Yeah, I'm not real happy with some of that. So, also, this fusible link is not doing anything because they've defeated it. So, just got to go through it. We'll get all this sorted out. It's solvable. I already stand corrected. This black wire is factory. It's the one that had the fusible link, and somebody just added a giant chunk of fuse link here for the MSD. I'm not sure that's the best option. I think that's going to become a fuse. I think I like that option better. But for now, I'm going to cut that black wire out of this harness and pull it through, because that's getting replaced with something considerably beefier. And look at that. The MSD is actually being fed with a heavier wire than the battery is from the alternator. So, yeah, we're going to change that. Once again, this is why it's great to have wiring diagrams. I found this connector, you know, bundled up in the harness under tape. This is the washer pump. So I've proven that to myself. Now, this obviously doesn't have, you know, washer system, so I understand why it's unplugged. But I don't like to just take something out without knowing what it is. So that was a good find. That may actually wind up becoming our electric choke, because for some reason it was coming off of the alternator. So when we look here, in fact, that wire is, it's laying around here somewhere. Anyway, off of the back of the alternator, that went around. So yeah, it's over here. So when we look at this plug, this black wire was obviously added. You know, that's not from the factory. So whatever black with a yellow tracer is what they were using. So black with a yellow trace. So black with a yellow trace. Okay, that comes off. Well, that's weird. That comes off of the coil, you know, for the actual solenoid here. So see, that's powered off of one phase here, and that drives the solenoid. But apparently they decided that was also going to drive the electric choke. Not really my first choice. So let's find that washer pump. Where was that? Backup lamp. Yeah, that's one problem, is, you know, it's not the easiest. You know, it's not set up the way, you know, modern diagrams would be set up by groups to make it easier. This is just everything all at once. Like, here's a backup lamp, but then the EGR meter's over here, and here's your coil. But not, depends, you know, this could also be your coil. It just depends on what engine, you know, came with it. But here's our wiper motor. Here's our washer pump. See, it's dark blue, and on the other side was dark blue yellow. Well, dark blue yellow is obviously the trigger wire for it. Dark blue comes around here to a 10 amp fuse. Well, I can tell you now that if we're drawing 10 amps on our electric choke, we've got a different problem to solve. So I have a feeling that this blue wire is going to get repurposed as our feed for our electric choke, and we will add it to our notes. And then we're not monkeying and adding any more than we have to. And yes, I know you can see a cut wire here. I've got to pull that from the entire harness. That's the yellow with a dark blue tracer. That is the indicator lamp for the alternator, which obviously doesn't exist anymore because we have the Dakota Dash. So that doesn't go to anywhere. We'll get that out of the harness. It'll be fine. You know, as you know, I don't really like to just cut things willy-nilly. I need to know where they go so I know that we're not causing other problems downstream. And we all know ShopDog is pretzel powered, so he's been paid off. In here, I think the next thing I want to do is actually tighten these in properly. While they're as easy to get at as they're gonna be. Decided to go ahead and start mocking this up now that the alternator is in. Start looking at hoses, which this may or may not work out. We'll take a look. This gets really close to the frame right now, so I may have to lengthen that, but you know, 3 things at a time. The next thing I'm going to do is drop the fan in there and get a good feel for where that can be and where hoses can actually route. Oddly enough, it's not possible to slide that in. Gonna have to pull this top back off so I can slide the radiator forward a little bit. ShopDog still says this is not enough pretzels. This now looks like it'll give us plenty of clearance. So the intention here is for that to line up there. So basically all the way to the passenger side. Which you can see, hopefully you can see, that gives us tons of room away from the crank and away from the alternator, away from hoses. So now I got to mock up this other hose because I may be changing this arrangement, but before I got any further I really needed to know what my limits were. So let me see what I can mock up. This is actually going to work. Look at this. Yes, I know this isn't ideal, but we're still going to get plenty of airflow past it. And see, it's even just a little cooling in the hose. But that, I mean, is infinitely more airflow than we had before. It's not even comparable. Also, the hoses aren't under any real weird stress. Nothing is in its way. I honestly don't know that originally I was planning on using this as a mount for that little guy, but don't think we're going to need it. I am going to maybe shorten that. I haven't decided yet which way that's got to go. I don't want that hitting the frame, so I do have to deal with that. But outside of that, I am really happy with the fit overall. As things tighten up, things will get a little shorter here and there. That's how that works. But this concept's, it's viable. So the other nice thing is just look at how much tighter it's going to be down here. So the only wiring down there besides off the stud of the alternator will be the coil wire here, and then I'm probably going to make a little harness to go across here for the TFI ignition, the choke wire, temp sensors, stuff like that. That upper radiator hose obviously is not bolted on. It's just sitting there because I needed to know how much space that took. I've got the fan kind of hung on a wire for now. It's doing its job. But you can see tons of room around the fan. So the fan will absolutely not be an issue. Yeah, I think this is going to work out pretty slick, actually. I think the hoses suddenly make this, and I don't even have any of this tight. This is all still loose. But, boy, that just got really snug. I would like some kind of vibration resistance against the frame. It's not actually touching. I know it looks like it is, but it's close enough that it will. So I got to do something there. I may cut an ever so slightly longer hose and push that body back a little bit. All of this stuff has plenty of room to wiggle around. So yeah, that's probably my solution, is go 3/4 inches longer on the hose and let it then go out away from the body a little bit more. This will be it for this video. I will turn it over to ShopRex in a minute. ShopDog's inside with Mommy because I'm boring and not handing out enough pretzels. So at this point, thanks for watching. This has been another ShopRex approved video. Thanks for watching.